Most people spend their 20s and early 30s saving money the hard way. They cut back on coffee, they skip vacations, they watch their bank account grow by a few $100s each month and wonder if any of this actually matters. And then one day, they hit $50,000. And suddenly, without changing a single habit, their money starts growing faster than they ever thought possible. Not because they got smarter, not because they found some secret strategy, but because they crossed an invisible line that changes everything about how money works. This is the story of why your first $50,000 feels impossible to reach, and why it's the most important financial milestone you'll ever hit. By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly why the beginning is so brutal, why most people give up right before things get easier, and what happens on the other side that makes all the struggle worth it. Wait, if you want to know how wealth actually gets built, like, subscribe, and comment one money habit you're fixing this year. Let's start with something nobody tells you when you're trying to save your first dollar. The system is designed to work against you at the beginning, not in some conspiracy theory way, just in a simple mathematical way that makes early progress feel like pushing a boulder uphill in the rain. Picture this. You're 23 years old. You just got your first real job. After taxes, rent, student loans, car payments, insurance, groceries, and everything else, you managed to save $300 this month. You feel good about it, responsible, like you're finally doing the adult thing everyone kept telling you about. You check your savings account at the end of the month. $302. You made $2. $2 in interest on $300 of actual sacrifice. That's not even 1%. You did everything right, and the universe gave you enough to buy a pack of gum. And this is where most people start to crack, because saving feels like a punishment. You say no to dinner with friends, you keep wearing the same shoes even though they're falling apart. You watch everyone around you living their lives while you're trying to be smart with money. And for what? $2? The next month, you do it again. Another $300 saved. Now you have $600 total. This month, you make $4 in interest. $4 whole dollars. You're starting to see a pattern here, and the pattern is depressing. At this rate, it would take you 14 years to save $50,000. 14 years of saying no to things. 14 years of feeling behind. 14 years of wondering if you're wasting your youth for a number on a screen. But here's what nobody explains when you're stuck in this phase. You're not just building a pile of money. You're building a machine. And right now, that machine is tiny. It's like trying to use a toy fan to cool down a room. It's technically working. It's just not powerful enough yet to make a difference you can feel. Think about it this way. When you have $600 saved and it grows by 1%, that's $6. When you have $6,000 saved, that same 1% is $60. Same percentage, but now it's actually paying for something real, a tank of gas, a week of groceries. When you have $60,000 saved, 1% is $600. That's what you were killing yourself to save manually each month in the beginning. Except now, it just appears. You wake up and it's there. This is the part that breaks people, the waiting. Because you can see the math. You understand that it gets easier later. But understanding something intellectually and feeling it emotionally are completely different things. And emotionally, watching your savings grow by $10 or $20 a month feels like drowning in slow motion. You start having these thoughts. Maybe I should just enjoy my money now. Maybe saving is for people who make six figures. Maybe I'll never get there anyway, so why bother? And these thoughts make sense, because from where you're standing, $50,000 might as well be $1 million. It feels equally impossible, equally far away. Like trying to swim to a shore you can't even see. Let's talk about what's really happening during these early years. It's not just about the numbers, it's about time. Every month that passes while you're saving is a month you're not spending. And spending is easy. Spending feels good. Spending gives you instant feedback. You buy something, you get something. The transaction makes sense to your brain. But saving is delayed gratification stretched out over years. And humans are terrible at delayed gratification. We're built to prioritize now over later. That's not a character flaw. That's just how we're wired. So every single month that you choose to save instead of spend, you're fighting against your own biology. You're making the harder choice over and over again, and the reward is basically invisible. Here's what a typical early savings journey actually looks like. Month 1, you save $300. You feel motivated. This is it. This is the year everything changes. Month 2, you save $300 again. Still feeling good. You tell yourself you're building something. Month 3, your car breaks down. You have to spend $800 fixing it. Now you're back to zero. Actually, you're back to negative $200 if you put it on a credit card. Month 4, you start over. $200 this time because you're still recovering. Month 5, another $200. Month 6, your friend is getting married and you need to travel for the wedding. There goes another $600. Month 7, you're exhausted. You take a break. You spend normally. Month 8, you feel guilty and save $500. You add it up at the end of the year. $2,400 saved. But it doesn't feel like progress. It feels like chaos. And when you look at your account and see $2,400, your brain doesn't celebrate. It calculates. At this rate, you'll need 20 more years to reach $50,000. 20 more years of this emotional roller coaster. This is the valley, the place where most people quit. Not because they're weak, not because they're bad with money, but because the gap between effort and reward is so massive that it breaks their spirit. You're putting in 100% of the work for about 5% of the results. And nobody tells you that this phase is temporary. Nobody tells you that you're actually closer than you think. So, what changes at $50,000? Why is this number different from $40,000 or $60,000 or any other number? The answer is momentum. Real, tangible, feel it in your bones momentum. Let's break this down in a way that actually makes sense. Imagine you're trying to move a car that's out of gas. At first, it won't budge. You push and nothing happens. Then it moves an inch, then another inch. Then it starts rolling slowly, then a bit faster. Then suddenly it's moving on its own, and you're just guiding it. That's what happens with money at $50,000. When you have $5,000 saved and it grows by 7% in a year, you make $3,500. That's nice. That's about what you were saving per month anyway. It doesn't change your life. But when you have $50,000 saved and it grows by 7%, you make $3,500. That's more than most people save in an entire year of hard work. And you didn't do anything. You just waited 12 months. But here's the part that really shifts everything. That $3,500 gets added to your $50,000. So next year, you're not starting with $50,000 anymore. You're starting with $53,500. And when that grows by 7%, you make $3,745, more than last year, without any extra effort. The year after that, even more. The year after that, even more. By year 5, your money's growing by over $5,000 a year on its own. By year 10, it's growing by over $15,000 a year. And this is where it clicks. This is where you realize that the first $50,000 wasn't about the money. It was about building the machine that makes money. Once the machine is big enough, it starts doing the heavy lifting for you. Let's get specific about what this feels like in real life. You're 32 years old. You've been grinding for almost a decade. You finally hit $50,000 in savings. You're still working the same job. You're still saving the same amount each month. But now, when you check your account, things are different. You saved $400 this month from your paycheck, but your account went up by $800. Where did the other $400 come from? It came from your money making money. And for the first time in your entire adult life, you feel like you're being helped instead of fighting alone. It's like you've been climbing a mountain by yourself for years, and suddenly someone shows up to carry half your gear. This is the psychological shift that nobody talks about. When your savings start generating real amounts of money on their own, your entire relationship with work and spending changes. You stop feeling desperate. You stop feeling behind. You start feeling like time is on your side instead of against you. And this feeling, this emotional shift, might be more important than the actual dollars. Because here's what happens next. You get motivated. Not fake motivated, not hype video motivated, real motivated. The kind that comes from seeing proof that your plan is working. You start saving a bit more because now it feels worth it. You stop obsessing over small purchases because you can see the bigger picture. You make better decisions because you're not operating from a place of scarcity anymore. But this is also where most people mess up. And we need to talk about this because it's the quiet killer of financial progress. It's called lifestyle inflation, and it sneaks up on you right when you're starting to win. You hit $50,000. You feel good, you feel successful, and your brain says, I've been sacrificing for years. I deserve to upgrade my life a little. So you move to a nicer apartment. Nothing crazy, just a place with a dishwasher and a balcony. That's $200 more per month. Then you buy a slightly newer car. Your old one was falling apart anyway. That's another $150 per month. Then you start eating out more because you're tired of cooking. That's another $300 per month. Within 6 months, you're spending $650 more per month than before. But you're not making $650 more. You're making the same salary. So now, instead of saving $400 a month, you're saving zero, or worse, you're going backwards. And that momentum you built, it stops. The machine you spent a decade building starts shrinking instead of growing. This is the trap. The cruel irony of finally making progress is that it gives you permission to sabotage yourself. And you don't even realize it's happening because it feels justified. You worked hard. You did everything right. Why shouldn't you enjoy some of it? And the answer is you should, just not all of it, not so much that you kill the momentum. Here's the balance that actually works. When you hit $50,000, celebrate. Take a weekend trip. Buy yourself something nice. Acknowledge the milestone. But then lock in your discipline. Decide right now that you won't let your monthly expenses grow faster than your income. Decide that every raise you get, half of it goes to savings. Not all of it, half. The other half you can spend. You can upgrade your life, but slowly, intentionally, in a way that doesn't destroy what you built. Because here's what most people don't understand until it's too late. The difference between someone who retires comfortably and someone who works until they're 70 isn't about being smart or lucky. It's about staying consistent during the years when consistency feels boring. It's about not celebrating too early. It's about understanding that 50,000 isn't the finish line. It's the starting line. From 50,000 to 100,000 takes less time than from 0 to 50,000. From 100,000 to 200,000 takes even less time. This is the exponential part. This is where the math starts working so hard in your favor that it almost feels like cheating. But you only get there if you don't blow it when you hit 50,000. Let's talk about time for a second. Because time is the secret ingredient that nobody appreciates when they're young. When you're 25, you have 40 years until retirement. That sounds like forever. It feels like you have all the time in the world. But here's the thing. If you wait until you're 35 to start saving, you don't just lose 10 years, you lose the most powerful 10 years, the years when your money has the most time to grow. $1 saved at 25 becomes $16 by 65. $1 saved at 35 becomes $8 by 65. Same dollar, same growth rate, but half the result, just because you waited 10 years. This is why starting early matters so much. Not because you're saving more money, but because you're giving that money more time to multiply. And this is why hitting 50,000 in your 20s or early 30s is such a massive advantage. Because now you have a machine that's going to work for you for decades. Every year it runs, it gets stronger. Every year you wait to start building it, you lose power you can never get back. So let's get practical. If you're watching this and you're nowhere near 50,000, what do you actually do? How do you get from here to there without losing your mind? 3 rules, that's it. 3 simple rules that work if you follow them. Rule 1, automate your savings. Don't rely on willpower. Don't wait until the end of the month to see what's left over. Decide on a number right now, $300, $500, whatever you can realistically do, and set up an automatic transfer the day after you get paid. The money moves before you can think about it, before you can spend it, before you can rationalize why this month is different. Rule 2, increase your income. Most personal finance advice focuses on cutting expenses, and yes, you should be reasonable with your spending, but there's a limit to how much you can cut. You can't cut your rent to 0. You can't stop eating. But your income has no ceiling. Learn a new skill, ask for a raise, switch jobs, start a side project, do something, anything to make more money. Because saving 20% of $40,000 is harder than saving 10% of $80,000. Same result, less pain. Rule 3, protect your progress. Life will try to steal your savings. Your car will break down. Your tooth will crack. Your friend will need help. These things will happen. So before you even start saving for $50,000, save 3 months of expenses in a separate account. This is your buffer, your shield. So when life happens, and it will, you don't have to destroy your long-term savings to handle a short-term emergency. 3 rules: automate, increase, protect. That's the whole system. Everything else is just noise. Now here's the mental model that ties this all together. Think of your first $50,000 as buying a worker. Not a real person, but an invisible worker who shows up every single day and earns money for you. At first, this worker is weak. They can only earn a few dollars a day. But every dollar you add makes them stronger. And at $50,000, they're finally strong enough to make a difference you can feel. From that point forward, you have 2 workers, you going to your job every day, and your money working in the background. And every year, your money gets better at its job. It earns more, it contributes more, until eventually it's earning as much as you are, and then more than you are. And that's when everything changes. That's when you realize you're not trapped anymore. You're not stuck trading time for money forever. You're building an exit. This is why the first $50,000 feels impossible, but changes everything. Because it requires years of discipline when you see almost no results. It requires faith in a process that feels broken. It requires you to keep showing up when every logical part of your brain is screaming at you to quit. But once you cross that line, once you reach that number, something fundamental shifts. The math that was working against you starts working for you. The time that felt like your enemy becomes your greatest ally. And the life you were building in secret, in the background, while everyone else was spending their money, finally becomes visible. If you're in the struggle right now, if you're in that valley where nothing seems to be moving fast enough, remember this. Every person who made it to the other side felt exactly what you're feeling right now. Every single one of them questioned whether it was worth it. Every single one of them wanted to quit, but they didn't, and neither will you. Because now you know the secret. Now you understand that the first 50,000 isn't supposed to be easy. It's supposed to be a test of whether you're serious, a test of whether you can delay gratification long enough to reach the turning point. And if you can pass that test, if you can build that machine, everything on the other side is easier than you ever imagined. So start today. Automate something, increase something, protect something. Take one step, then another, then another. And one day, sooner than you think, you'll check your account and realize you made it. You crossed the invisible line, and now the game is different. Now you're playing to win.